Angry guy here. And today, guys, I'm going to be talking to you about the time I got diagnosed with Aspergers. You're going to love this one. I want to go ahead and thank these patrons right here for their continued support. And of course, special thanks to these patrons: Mickey Turner, Sharky GNU, Link Neurons, Cryptonomy Royal, 2.5, P Bax, Brian A. Pierre Martel, David Herrera, Deadlust, FA Crusader, Gabriel Prince, Goo Monster, Hansky, Iceberg 88, John Charles Clark Jr., Joshua Flores, Levi Abram, Nature Monk, Raymond Zuniga, Red Pill Blue Mage, St. Everett, CPO Americanas, Scott Venman, Thomas Danielle, Timothy Bruce Leoza, David Strong, Tim Myers, Daniel the Utley, and Sam Raven. You guys are amazing, and I want to thank you for your continued support. So today I'm going to be discussing with you the time I got diagnosed with Asperger's. So some of you are going to say, oh my gosh, I absolutely knew it. I knew it. I knew there was something wrong with this angry guy. I absolutely knew it, right? Well, so yeah, I was actually once diagnosed with Asperger's. I mean, actual diagnosis and all. But the story goes like this. So this is before I moved away from my mother. And I was working for a very large financial company. And I just finally had I had a breakdown. I couldn't work anymore. I couldn't concentrate. I just couldn't continue. So I went to see a therapist to figure out what was going on. And I sat down with her. And we talked and we talked and we talked. And eventually she said she could not figure out what was wrong with me. And then finally she goes, you know what? It's Asperger's. And I said to her, Asperger's? And she said that, well, here's what happened. When I used to work with a psychiatrist, he said that when nothing else makes sense, think Asperger's. When nothing else fits, it has to be Asperger's. So I said, oh, okay, cool. So she gives me the diagnosis, and I go and I have a seat, and I meet with the psychiatrist. And then she looks at the diagnosis, and she goes, you sure about this? And I'm like, yeah, seems to make sense, right? Give me some meds. Hey, let's go with it. But then some things changed. So, guys, you're going to like this story. This story gets really interesting. So I get sent so she tells me that, well, you know what, here's the thing, you've got really good insurance, so we can send you to a specialist. So I go to a specialist on autism and Asperger's, and well, this lady says to me, I told her, yeah, my diagnosis is Asperger's, and she goes, I'm really surprised. I was like, you don't think I have it? She goes, no. So I'm like, okay, whatever. So I'm like, hey, listen, do you mind just let me go get my refill of pills, and then I'll be on my merry way. So she doesn't she thinks that I'm just BSing, because she's like, well, he doesn't have Asperger's. He's just a jerk, right? She thinks I'm just a jerk. So this is an interesting story. So I get sent to an extremely, extremely expensive specialist. So this doctor is really expensive. She's extremely expensive, and she's what do you call it? She's like a top tier professional in autism and all of that stuff. So I sit down with her, and within she looks at me, I look at her, she looks at me, and I start talking to her, and within maybe less than 5 minutes, it was almost immediate. She goes, yeah, she's like, you don't have Asperger's, you don't have autism. I'm like, wait a minute, what do you mean? And she goes, I'm like, what's wrong with me? She goes, it's your mother. I'm like, what? She goes, it's your mother. She goes, it's your mother. This is how I ended up That's how I ended up with the whole medication thing. So she goes, "It's your mother." And I'm shocked out of my mind at this point. All right. Oh, and thank you for someone said, please be sure to share how old you were when you were diagnosed. So here's something interesting. I had seen many doctors over the years when I was a kid because I was always depressed. And my mother I saw different psychiatrists, I saw different therapists, and I was never diagnosed as a kid. I was never diagnosed with autism, Aspergers. I was extremely articulate. And at the same time, I could have very good conversations and comprehend. I had pretty decent interpersonal skills when I wasn't around my mother. It was just her. And I never put two and two together that she was the problem until much later on in life. So at around 27, or maybe I was 28, I get I go in because I'm like I can't work anymore. And the therapist, she basically diagnosed me with Asperger's, not because she diagnosed me with Asperger's, because she said that she couldn't think of anything else that could possibly fit. And she had heard once upon a time that when nothing else makes sense, think Asperger's. So maybe that's it. So I did get the diagnosis. I was diagnosed with it for a little while. And then after I go and see a specialist, she thinks I'm just a jerk and doesn't think I have it. So then I get sent to a super specialist who tells me within less than 5 minutes, yeah, you don't have Asperger's. It's just your mother. Your mother's destroyed your life. Your mother's destroyed your life. And then at that point, she basically explained things to me, and she gave me my first dose of the red pill, where she basically explained female nature, women to me, that men and women don't think exactly the same, that there are differences. She explained everything to me. She also told me that my relationship with my mother was extremely inappropriate and it was damaging me psychologically. And pretty much everything that I had been going through was because of her. When I went to see this lady, this is where things get actually very interesting. When I went to see this lady, my mother was very, very adamant about me not seeing her. It was weird. It was so weird. This is where this scared me. This is a scary part. My mother was so adamant about me not seeing this lady. And I'm like, Mom, don't you want me to get better? Don't you want me to get help? And she was like, oh, yes, but, it's a long drive. It's kind of a long drive. Why do you need to drive all the way there? And, blah, blah, blah. I've already told you that, you're not so right in the head. Yeah, because my mother, since I was a kid, my mother told me I wasn't right in the head. Right? She's like, it's from your father's side. Your father, those people aren't so great. But anyway, turns out it was all my mother. All of it. I had an extremely toxic relationship with my mother. My relationship with her, everything was completely toxic. It was out of whack. It was not a normal relationship. Okay? And this woman explained everything to me. She explained people to me. She filled in all the pieces. One of the reasons why I had trouble socializing sometimes was because my mother kept me isolated growing up. The way that you learn how to communicate effectively with others is by communicating with others. It happens through trial and error. So children, they learn how to moderate their conversations, how to empathize, how to relate to others, and a bit of self-control from taking social cues from others. Growing up, my mother kept me isolated. I would spend entire summer vacations inside, where I would not go outside for the entire summer. Entire summer vacations were spent inside. And I figured that it was just my fault, but it wasn't me. It was her. And when I finally went to get help, she was so angry about me seeing this woman. It was horrible. And I told her, and she just got worse and worse. And I was thinking to myself, why is she acting like this? I haven't told her anything bad about this woman. And the funny thing is, in the end, I told the therapist, I told her, my mother hates you. And the therapist goes, and the therapist goes, yeah, well, I hate her too. It was really bad. It was really, really bad. Will never forget the day I said to my therapist, my mother hates you. And she goes, yeah, well, I hate her too. She said, yeah, well, I hate her too. And after that, she told me to get as far away from my mother as possible. I'm going to tell you guys something very interesting. When I was a kid, around 12 or 13, I had a pediatrician. And he told me that my mother was not sane. And he told me that I needed to get as far away from her when I turned 18 years old. I am not lying to you. She didn't like this doctor. She despised him. And she actually ended up getting rid of him as my doctor. And he would always tell me that she wasn't right, that the way she was raising me was wrong, that she was creating problems in my life. And he told me that if I stayed around, he told me if I didn't get away from her, she was going to destroy my life. He told me this at 13. And he told me that I needed to get away from her as soon as I turned 18. I think he told me to go become a doctor. Said told me to get away from her as soon as I turned 18 years old. He said that he had met people like her before, but they had like successfully recovered from the trauma of their parents, of their mothers. And he said, as soon as I turned 18, I was 12 or 13. And he said, as soon as I turn 18, I need to get away from my mother and move far away. I'm not lying to you. And right after that, my mother got rid of him as my doctor, which was horrible. She never liked him. She never liked him because the way my mother was, she never liked people having conversations with me if she wasn't around. So, for example, if I went into the examining room, she wanted to be exactly there in the examining room. She never wanted doctors to speak to me privately. This is a very serious. She never wanted. If I went and sat down with a therapist, she always had to be there when I spoke with the therapist. Every appointment, she never allowed me to be alone. Okay, unless it was almost ever. It was absolutely ridiculous. It was absolutely ridiculous. And now I realize the reasons why is because she was trying to control the narrative. And my mother, she had this thing. She was trying to break me so that I would never leave her. Okay, because it's a mental state. They break one of their kids so that they never leave them. And she was trying to break me mentally, emotionally, physically, so that I would always end up staying. This is how some mothers operate. You'll read books about it. And when I met this woman, and I never listened to my doctor, and then years later, I completely had a full breakdown. And finally, she explained exactly what happened. And when it happened, when she told me, she told me, get away from your mother as far as you can. And I moved as far as I could away from her. After I moved as far away from my mother as possible, at this point, I started having a lot of trouble dealing with life. And that's when they put me on prescriptions. And that's when Klonopin became a big part of it. And I started having PTSD and flashbacks to my childhood. And I became extremely angry and bitter and resentful towards my mother because I realized what had happened and how my life had been destroyed. And it's funny because when I moved far away, I made tons of friends immediately. I had a ton of friends. Every time I was away from my mother, I had tons of friends. Whenever I was around my mother, I had no friends. This is how life was always for me. Whenever I was with my mother, I had no friends. If I went away to college, if I left the state, I had more friends than anyone. I had an entire pack, like a wolf pack of friends. I had so many friends, it was insane. People were drawn to me. So this was odd. But whenever I was around my mother, I suddenly couldn't make friends. I had a hard time communicating with others. It was horrible. And it's because she was controlling me. She was controlling me. She was influencing me, and she knew exactly the buttons to press and to get me to believe that it was always my fault. There was always something wrong. When in reality, she's a total sociopath. Okay. A lot of people, a lot of young men, they have this happen to them. And I know there has to be someone of you, someone listening right now who can relate to me, who can say, and it's like, sometimes you want to ask your mother, why did you let this happen? I know someone like this, and I had to tell them, listen, dude, you'll never get an answer from her. You'll never get an answer, or you'll never get a good enough answer. These people are sociopaths. Okay? My mother is a sociopath, hardcore sociopath. And I blamed myself for everything, every single thing. And I had no idea that it was so abnormal. All right? My therapist hates my mother, hated her for how she raised me and and the mental abuse that I went through. I don't have Aspergers. I don't have autism. I'm actually quite rational, coherent. I can read emotions quite well. I connect with people. If I didn't, I would probably, one of the reasons why this YouTube channel is probably so successful is because of my ability to empathize for others and to connect with people on an emotional level. But when I was around my mother, I couldn't even, it's like I was completely gone. Another thing is, when I was growing up, my mother was always trying to keep me. Okay, so this is something very weird. When I was growing up, my mother would always give me meds. And there was a guy that would always tell me, and I knew him since I was a kid. He would always tell me that the pills that my mother is having me take are screwing me up. And he would say that she's getting you addicted to this stuff. Right? So the habit of taking pills is something that started when I was a kid. And it was a habit that my mother brought me into, constantly drugging me up. And she did the same thing with my other brothers as well. She drugged them up. Okay? She drugged them up. And I didn't realize that. She's a crazy person. And my mother's a really, really, really crazy person. And yeah, the whole addiction thing, a lot of that started from my childhood because of my habitual need to constantly swallow something, take some kind of prescription to fix these problems, because that's how she raised me. She was always stuffing stuff down my throat. Okay? So you eventually figure, well, you need something, you always need something to survive. I'm going to read some of the comments right now. Let me see here. Alex says, how do I find this doctor? I'm going to be honest with you. You don't need to go find any special doctor, and especially you should stay out of now you guys kind of understand, I think, the reason why I drop labels. Labels are garbage. I told you, I have a master's in psychology now. I earned that after the whole experience. And I was working on a doctorate in clinical psychology. The truth is that anyone can give you a diagnosis for anything. I'm being honest with you. Anyone can give you a diagnosis for anything. It's just the honest to goodness truth. Alex says, same dude, check my content out. You might be able to help me with your knowledge. I'll try. NPC says, your mama crazy. Word. No, my mother was not a single mother. So I didn't grow up in a single mother household. I grew up in a household with both parents. My father was a womanizer, and he was always out and about doing his thing, but my parents were married. They hid behind religion. My father, his thing was church. His thing was picking up, meeting women. He had this whole thing where he was like a really good guy and a godly man and all this other crap. But he was really just a womanizer. I mean, he slept with my mother's best friend when I was a kid in her bedroom. When I was a kid, my mother's best friend came to visit. And she was taking care of us because my mother had to go visit her mother. And my mother and father, my father and her best friend, they slept together. I will never forget it. I saw this woman. She was wearing her underwear. She was in an underwear and a t-shirt. She went into my father's bedroom. They slammed the door shut, and that was the end of that. And I told my mother about it, and they claimed that they both said that it never happened, and it was so unbelievable. And one of my brothers like saw the whole thing too. We both saw it, and my mother is in complete denial. My father slept with her best friend, like right there in the house. Slept with her best friend in their bed. And I can't, to this day, it's like, are you kidding me? Like, they didn't even care. They're like, oh, nobody's going to believe these kids. My father was something. My father was a real piece of work. NPC sounds like a Gypsy Rose. Yes, it relates. I can definitely relate to Gypsy Rose in that sense. I definitely can. Mr. Will says, greetings, angry, greetings, guys. What's going on, brother? I will tell you guys that, like, if you have to, one of the most important things is when a man separates himself away from the mother and starts to become an adult. The thing is that there are many mothers who will try to break the man, break his mentality, and keep him in a state of adolescence and ignorance, so that they can keep him around for forever. Because don't forget this: in this world, women need men. Women need men, and they instinctually know that they need men. So of course, in many cases, they'll do anything possible to ensure that they keep at least one. At least one. I'm telling you that. Think about it carefully. Think about it. And that's how a lot of mothers actually operate. And in my case, it's something I still struggle with PTSD, and it's from her. It's from her. And the best thing I can do is just to keep going my own way, and to focusing on myself, making wealth and resources, building relationships with others. These days it's kind of hard, especially in this world, but it's also important because we're social creatures, and there are good people in this world. It does feel like there's like only horrible and evil people all around us, but it's not true. There are good people in this world. There are kind people in this world. It's just sometimes we get drawn, for example, I had this girlfriend who was just horrible, and she looked just like my mother. And it's funny because these types of people easily it's like you attract them. You can attract them because they can sense that you're a good-hearted person, and they'll take advantage of you. So you have to realize your own self-worth, for one. You have to learn how to, because my mother used to tell me things like, I was cocky and I was arrogant. This as a kid. My mother worked very, very hard to lower my self-esteem as much as possible. That's interesting. While other mothers tell their sons that they're handsome and that they're smart and intelligent, my mother told me that I was cocky and arrogant, and women wouldn't like me because of that. Why would a woman want to be with someone who's as arrogant as I am? She'd tell me this as a kid. As a kid. I know. I mean, I don't, and hence why my therapist said that she hates my mother, for among all things. I'm telling you honestly right now, the truth is I don't want too many people to go into the field of therapy, because a lot of times it's just so, it lacks, there's not enough masculinity in there. I mean, my therapist, she was like an old lesbian, okay? And she was able to explain the world to me really, really well. But, so many of the field today it just lacks common sense. So personally, I think it's better that you guys just do the hard work. And the hard work meaning learning that it's not your fault. I actually do have something for you. I actually did write a book. I have written a book on the subject. Which I will make available for you to download. I guess after this video, I'll put it in the description of this video. And I did actually write a book about it. It's an ebook, and it's basically discussing how to heal from a toxic mother, from a toxic relationship with your mother. I call it toxic mother syndrome. And I basically talk about how I healed from it, how I was able to come out from that, because it was so damaging. I mean, hell, I ended up homeless. So, and that played a big role in it because, if it wasn't for the terrible relationship that I had with her, it wouldn't have led me to the prescriptions, and then that wouldn't have led me to ending up in a state where I could no longer function. But I did write a book about it. I did write an ebook. It's actually available. It's a pretty good book, and it has step-by-steps explaining how to heal from toxic mother syndrome, and how I got over it, and how if you're struggling with the same thing, how you can get over it as well. I'll make the ebook available, like I said, shortly after this video. I'll put it in the description of this video so that you guys can go and download the ebook, check it out. Because it really is, there's a lot of guys out there who could use this help and could benefit from it, because I know that it really affected me. And the problem is that you end up blaming yourself so much. You spend all your time blaming yourself. Alex said, please do link me to that book. Alex Fleming says, please do link that book. I'm homeless now. How much is it? Wow, I'm sorry to hear that, bro. Mr. H. Will says, hey, Angry, are you familiar with Erickson's stages of psychological development? I am aware of those stages of psychological development. And those stages of psychological development, you need to be around others. You actually have to interact with others to actually hit those different stages of psychological development. Alex says, thank you. I'll read that because I'm actively looking for these answers. Yeah, bro, not a problem. Not a problem. Anyone that it can help, I'm more than willing. I'm more than happy to help you with that. But yeah, so for example, the Eric stages of psychological development, I'm gonna talk about those right now for you guys. So let's go ahead and pull those up. So infant through 18 months, that's when we're going through psychosocial crisis. So trust versus mistrust. And then you have 18 months through 3 years, autonomy versus shame and doubt. 3 through 5, initiative versus guilt. 5 through 13, industry versus inferiority. 13 through 21, identity through identity versus role confusion. 21 through 39, intimacy versus isolation. Look at those. All right. 40 through 65, generativity versus stagnation. And 65 and older, integrity versus despair. This is so important, guys, because if you don't address these issues, for example, 18 through, infant through 18 months, that's when you're supposed to develop trust. And if you don't have a good relationship, if your mother doesn't nurture you properly, then you'll develop a mistrust of the world. Okay? If you don't develop 18 months through 3 years, if you don't feel empowered and able and given the opportunity to make decisions for yourself, all right, you'll begin to lack autonomy and instead begin to develop shame and doubt. All right, 3 to 5 years, you'll instead of taking initiative, you'll feel guilt. Okay, 5 through 13. Instead of being industrious, you'll feel inferior, all right? And then 13 through 21, this is where things get really rough. Instead of developing a sense of identity, you'll develop a sense of role confusion where you don't actually know where you fit into society. 21 through 39, which are the years when you're supposed to be becoming an adult and developing relationships, not only interpersonal, but intimate relationships with others, meaning strong bonds, friendships that, basically during this stage of your life, you meet the people that end up, becoming your family. And instead of developing strong, close relationships, you end up finding yourself isolated. This is what, believe it or not, a good relationship with your mother is very pivotal for developing all of the positive aspects of these versus developing the negative ones. If your mother does not instill a sense of self, trust, identity into you, then you'll find yourself constantly at war with yourself, constantly distrusting yourself, distrusting everyone around you, you'll feel at loss. Okay, and a lot of times you'll feel like you've never actually grown up. It's an unfortunate thing. It's a horrible cycle. But one of the first things to do is to put distance between yourself. I'm just being honest. One of the first things to do is you need to put distance between yourself and distance between the person who's causing these problems for you. And I'm talking about removing contact. And it's going to be hard because you're going to be angry at them. And they have, they know if it's your mother, she knows how to push your buttons. She knows the things to say to disarm you. I'm telling you right now, which is why you have to put distance between yourself and your mother, because she knows how to get to you. Let me see here. Alex says, no wonder why I'm so strange. Here's one of the problems. For example, being strange, you know what makes you strange? Being strange is not having, interest at, like, for example, having geeky interest. That doesn't make you strange. What makes people strange is when they come across as isolated. Okay? And when people come across as isolated and unapproachable, that's when they come across as strange. Okay? Like, for example, goths, like if a person is a goth and they're very social, no, people don't find them strange. People find them very nice. I mean, if they judge them based on only on their appearance, then maybe they come across as strange. But if they actually interact with them, and these are people with great personalities, then they start to respect them. It's when people are not able to communicate effectively, that's when people don't like you. For example, I've noticed it before growing up. A lot of the times when I didn't get along with people, the reason why they didn't like me was not because I had done anything wrong. It was simply because I was so quiet. And when people don't know what you're thinking, it makes them concerned, and you start to stand out more. It's better to sound in a room. What people don't understand, they don't trust. I'm just being very honest, and which is one of the reasons why I end up forcing myself to speak at times when I'm in a social environment, even if I'm going to sound like an idiot in the end, which is not entirely always that bad, because you do have to balance things out. If you sound like a person who is so cool that you're unapproachable also, then it makes it difficult for others to relate to you. You have to let your guard down a little bit, and you do have to show a human side to you, because when you show a human side to you, that's when other people can relate to you. Believe it or not, people are not attracted to our perfections. People are actually attracted to our imperfections. That's something that they don't teach you. And for people who don't show their imperfections, it makes it much more difficult to trust them and to believe in them as a person. Mr. Will says, you're not abnormal, Alec, you're human. Absolutely right. You're absolutely right. Now, he says, I have the MGT community. Listen, bro, about that community, you have... that community, it's hard, because especially when you're angry and you've gone through a lot in life, and then you find people who are also angry and going through a lot in life, you can end up getting stuck in a place where you never want to get stuck. And I don't want to talk too much about that community, but what I honestly recommend is, because I'm still a person, I'm going my own way, but I don't have a label on me anymore. And I find that to be extremely important. And you can, do what makes you happy. For me, I was in the community for many, many years. I was one of the people who helped to found the second version of the philosophy. All right. So I don't know, to popularize it. And at the end of the day, I realize now that it's just a crutch. You have to decide how you want to live your life. You have to take responsibility for your life, and you basically have to say, I may not have created these problems, but they're still my problems to fix. For example, the problems that my mother created in my life, the trauma that she created, they're not my fault, but they're still my problem to fix. See? And that's just the way you have to look at it. Because at the end of the day, this world is going to push you and push you and push you until you can't go anymore. It's going to put you on your knees. And if you don't, and if you don't push yourself, if you don't fight to get out of that, it'll keep you there. It will keep you there. Alex says, I have a habit of listening and thus seeing why they hate you, because you're smarter, haha. The truth is that most people don't want to think for themselves because it's hard, just like most people don't want to succeed. It's the honest to goodness truth. Some people say, oh no, that's a lie. I want to succeed in life. Do you really? How many people can't handle failure? Because failure is the first step before success. All right? So if you want to succeed, you're going to have to become good at failing. Hence, people who don't want to fail don't want to succeed. You might say, well, that's twisted logic, but it absolutely isn't. Failure is a critical step towards success, okay? It is. It is a critical step towards success. That's how it is. You know, it's amazing how people remember we look at the light bulb and we take the light bulb for granted. Thomas Edison was not the best scientist out there. He wasn't. All right. And the story goes, I don't know if it's true or not, but the story goes that he had 10,000 failures before he finally found one success. He failed 10,000 times, 10,000, before he actually found something that worked and got the light bulb to work. Think about that carefully. Think about that carefully. All right. And everyone looks at the light bulb today and they only think about the achievement, but they don't think about the insane amounts of failure. And Thomas Edison, he wasn't a great scientist. He was a great businessman, but he was not a great scientist. And he still succeeded because he was capable of handling failure. I told you guys in the earlier podcast, which is now gone, that the richest man in China, he failed to get a job. Like there were like 100 people that they were hiring at a KFC. They hired everyone except for him. They were like hiring police officers, like 100 police officers. They hired everyone except for him. He could not get the most basic and remedial jobs out there. He's the richest man in China. He could not get the most basic and remedial jobs out there. And today he is the richest man in China. And he talks about this. He's done like TED Talks, maybe multiple TED Talks. All right. And when he does the talks, he speaks in English. And his English is getting better, but he messes up and he doesn't care. Sometimes he mispronounces words. He struggles and he keeps on struggling through it. Think about that very carefully. All right? The world that we live in is a fallacy. And the truth is that we often end up getting sucked into the reality of others. Okay? And you get sucked into the reality of others, and then you lose touch with reality in and of itself. Because, for example, the Instagram reality is a complete joke. Social media reality, it's a complete joke. Okay? Most people don't even want to think for themselves. Most people don't want to think for themselves. You think I'm joking? For years, I've said, I'm not trying to create followers. I'm trying to create leaders. All right? And then you'd often see people posting things like, oh, that guy, why do you think that's why the general community never liked me? Because you would say it, I was a danger to the establishment, their preconceived notions of what is acceptable from unacceptable. All right? I challenged everything. I remember when I was younger, when I was a teenager, and there was this Chinese guy that I worked with, and he told me that, he said, listen, you need to just do as you're told and learn how to conform. And that was the Chinese mentality. The Chinese are conformists. So basically they just conform and they do as they told and they fall in line. And they figure that everything works out well. And by the way, it doesn't work out well in the end. And me, on the other hand, I like to think for myself. I like to think outside of the box. I had an uncle and he told me, he was very intelligent. And he told me when I was a kid, he said something. He said, "Never let anyone take your mind away from you. Never let anyone control your mind, because if they control your mind, then they control you." Okay? In life, we have to remember things, for example, like someone else's opinion of us. Someone else's opinion of us is completely irrelevant. It's none of our business. Literally, think about it. It is absolutely none of our business. And if we decide to take their opinion of us so seriously, and then we allow their opinion to affect us and to cause us to change ourselves, okay? And then we discover that we hate ourselves, we can't tolerate, and our lives are not going the way we want them to go, but we took the opinions of others so seriously, and where are those people now? Living their lives. And you're saying, but these people were wrong. They were wrong. And guess what? They don't care. Because it's your life. And you're looking around trying to take these cues from these people who barely have their lives together themselves. One of the things that's so hilarious is that you'll meet people and you think that they have their lives together. Okay? Oh, this guy has a nice girlfriend, or she has a great boyfriend, or they have a nice house, and you think that all these people have their lives together. I found this so funny. It's often the families that come across as the most functional that are the most dysfunctional. I know you guys know what I'm talking about. Sometimes you'll see the family, the white picket fence, and they look so perfect. And everyone is like so perfect in that family. You think, oh my gosh, these people are so perfect. The kids are so perfect. The father is perfect. The mother is perfect. All right? And you would be amazed how the dark secrets that are in that family, all right? The darkness in that family and the things that happen in that house. And you would never, ever realize it, because everyone is looking at just the material. They're looking at the surface. Telling you. Mocking says, I was told all those boys who picked on me in high school, if I wanted to find them after, I'd just go to Charles Les Schwab. Sam says, yeah, I fall victim to that false perception. You know, let me tell you something about how a lot of people end up. If you are mentally poor, if you feel mentally poor, if you don't have a good self-image of yourself, listen to me. If you have a poor self-image of yourself, then you devalue yourself. If you devalue yourself, then not only will you be mentally poor, but you will also be in reality poor. I'm being honest with you. I'm being honest. People with higher self-esteem tend to be higher financial earners. They tend to be more successful. Doesn't mean that they're smarter. But because of their confidence, they attempt more. And because they attempt more, they achieve more. Okay? But people who are constantly doubting themselves, doesn't matter how intelligent they are. They could be the smartest person in the room, and they're getting put down by the dumbest person in the room, because the dumbest person in the room has enough self-confidence to speak up for themselves, while the smartest person in the room has no confidence, so now they're being spoken down to. And what ends up happening? Everyone ends up agreeing with the person who's speaking down to them, because because they're leading the conversation. And people would rather fall in line with a jerk, because if they don't, well, then they're going to have to think for themselves, and then they have to possibly challenge him or her. And no one wants to do that. Don't want to rock the boat, man. Don't want to rock the boat. One of the most important things you can do for yourself is to build wealth. And listen to me. This is something a friend taught me years ago. He's much older than me. I mentioned him earlier. When your money is down, you are down. When your money is down, you are down. You may not think it's true. When you are broke, when you're financially broke, very often it has a serious psychological impact on you as well. Okay? The notion that you don't need money to survive, you don't need wealth, you don't need resources, that's a complete lie. That's a complete and utter lie. It's a complete and utter lie. And a lot of us get stuck in that poverty mentality, that poor man's mentality. And that's why we accept so little. All right? We take scraps because we think we're supposed to accept that. That's what everyone else is doing. Okay? And then we live in poverty, both mental and social poverty, while those who never even went to school are eating caviar because they were not constrained to these things. Like, that's one thing about college and about school in general, is that it trains you how not to think for yourself. It trains you how to conform and how to consistently repeat specific tasks over a period of time. I'm telling you that. And then that's how they call it. And then when they put together a test, these standardized aptitude tests, they're not testing. These standardized aptitude tests do not test actual intelligence. They test your ability to be consistent and to conform. Okay? And guess what? The people who typically do well on these tests, the people who typically are so-called high achievers. Sure, some of them go on to be doctors and lawyers, but guess what? They don't go on to become innovators. They don't go on to start their own business. And they don't do anything outside of the box. Many of them, if they lose their job as a doctor, they're completely useless. They cannot handle life. Guys, do you know how many doctors, people who were doctors or dentists, they lose for some reason, they can no longer work as a dentist. They can no longer work as a doctor. They are now flat broke. They have no other skills and they cannot survive. And they don't know what to do. And they now end up living in terrible poverty. How does that happen? It doesn't make any sense. You're such an intelligent person. Are they really an intelligent person? Or are they a person that played it safe, that allowed others to guide them through life, and they basically stayed away from failure as much as possible, and now failure has caught up to them, and they can't handle it. They don't know how to get back up. They don't know what else to do. Maybe they're stuck in shame, and they become absolutely useless. Absolutely useless. I'm telling you the honest to goodness truth. What has helped? I've struggled a lot in my life, but it's my failure and my ability to get back up from failure and to continue pushing forward that have made me resilient. Think about this, guys. I run my own business. All right? I haven't had a 9-to-5 job in about 6 to 7 years. 6 to 7 years. I run my own business. Okay? I go out there and I get my money so that I can eat. If I don't have a 9-to-5, I don't have a boss, I don't have someone that I can go to, I don't have a company that I go to get money. Okay? I go out there, I build my own business. I create my own opportunities. It's between me and God. God making it for me. That's it. But there's nothing else. There's nothing else. All right? How many of you could do that? I'm asking the question. I'm being honest with you. How many of you could actually do that right now? If you lost your job right now, how would you survive? How would you eat? I'm serious. I have investments in cryptocurrency. I have my investments in cryptocurrency. I created my own cryptocurrency. Don't forget that. And of course, these people, they attacked me. They tried to put me down. They tried to defame me. They tried to stop me. I have my course business. I've shown you how much money I make from my courses business. All right. I made $2,000 just like the day before. Yes, was it yesterday? I don't even remember anymore. Yesterday or the day before, I made $2,000 in 24 hours. $2,000 in 24 hours. I want you to think about that. All right. And I have multiple streams of revenue, multiple streams of income. I have multiple income streams. And my goal is to teach you that. Okay? So my failures in life have actually taught me a lot of things. For one, being homeless, that's not something I ever want to experience again. And I wouldn't wish it on my worst enemy. I'm just being honest with you. I would never, ever wish that on my worst enemy. So that has led me to the point where that was my rock bottom, and I never want to go back there. Because let me tell you something about rock bottom. There's always there's always something lower. When it comes to rock bottom, there's always something lower. Okay? Rock bottom is different for everyone, because rock bottom is not homelessness for everyone. It's different things for different people. It's that place that you never want to go back to ever again. That's rock bottom. Okay? So, and let me tell you something about rock bottom. Rock bottom is not fun, because a lot of times when people hit rock bottom, they stay there. They never recover from rock bottom. You see these young homeless people, they hit rock bottom and they never recovered. And they've been homeless for like 10, 20, sometimes 30 years. And you're like, how the heck have you been homeless this long? Because they hit rock bottom and they never got back up. They never got back up. Deadless says sleeping in the woods isn't fun. It sure as heck is not. It sure as heck. Mr. Will says lower than rock bottom. You can always go lower. That's the thing. You can always go lower. You're like, lower than rock bottom? How is that possible? Because you can always go lower. Well, you think you can't go lower than homeless? You can go lower. You can be homeless. You can have an infected foot that's swelling. You can be in jail. You can be charged with there's always lower. There's always something else. You would be amazed how far down you can go, how deep you can go, and there's always a new layer of suffering. All right? Rock bottom is when you say enough is enough. I won't want to go back to this point, and I don't want to go any lower than this. You can always go lower. It can always get worse. Listen to me about life. I will tell you this right now. I have learned this myself. It can always get worse. Whenever you hear people say, well, it can't get any worse, and then it starts to rain. It can always get worse. There's always something worse. There's always, if you're alive, there is always something worse. Always. Do you realize how many people are going to find themselves without a home, homeless, unable to provide for themselves because they've been sitting on their hands this entire time? You think that I don't have my issues? But you guys, for those of you that have been with me for years, you've seen my ups and downs. You've seen my struggles mentally, emotionally, everything. You've seen it. I haven't hidden from you. But at the same time, I have to get back up. I fail at so many things, and then I have to get back up, because that's what life is about. It's about getting back up. That's it, getting back up. You know the reason, one of the things also that's good? The fact that I have to earn money for myself. It keeps me hungry. Keeps me hungry. Because when you have a job where you're going into this job, you end up developing a false sense of security. And as soon as you lose that job, what are you going to do? Now you're struggling trying to find another one, trying to find somebody else to take care of you, because that's really what you're doing. You're having someone else take care of you, subsidizing your living. All right? The only person who takes care of me is God. The only one who takes care of me is God. All right? It's so funny because I had people who used to drop, like I said, $300 in a single stream. And the very moment I started talking about self-development, they were gone. They were gone in a heartbeat. And I said it, I explained to a lot of them, listen, I can't sit around all day long just making videos that are going to make you laugh, all right? Because I can be a comedian. But right now, we're in bad shape. Socially, economically, we need to start making money. We need to start putting away money for our futures. I don't want to go to a FEMA camp. I don't want to live that life. You know what the funny thing is? When a lot of these same people, you're going to see these people, a lot of these same people, they're going to act like when they end up homeless, when they can't pay their bills, when all of this happens, they're going to act like it was no fault of their own. Some of them are going to go crazy because they're going to remember me, and they're going to remember the things that I said, and they're going to either try to block it out, and there's going to be those who can't block it out, and they're going to go absolutely insane because they heard these things, and then they're going to turn around and say, this guy is a prophet. He's a prophet. He's obviously a prophet. Only a prophet could know these things. And it's like, they're so sad. It's just like so sad. Like, bro, seriously, it's common sense. All right? I mean, like, how messed up is our day and age where common sense seems like a superpower? Okay? Common sense is it seems like a superpower. It seems like magic today. Oh my gosh, how did he do that? It was using the spell called common sense. What's that? It's black magic. Shh. You've got to be kidding me. For years, I've told you guys I'm not a prophet. I just use common sense. And there's still so many people who still look at me like, oh my gosh, but your predictions are amazing. It's common sense. Bro, it's common sense. You keep kicking a can down the road. What do you expect? Where does our money come from? Come on, ask some questions. Ask some questions. Comes from people who are smarter than us. No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't. What's quantitative easing? Oh, quantitative easing is a term that was developed by the banking industry to help stabilize economies in tumultuous times. Okay, and how do they stabilize the economies? Well, they utilize quantitative easing to increase the cash supply within these areas by purchasing up debt. And where does that money come from? Well, that money comes from the government, and that comes from the government's money comes from the people. Wrong. You see, with quantitative easing, they can just print money out of thin air. The government doesn't have any money. The government doesn't actually have any money. Think about it carefully. The U.S. government doesn't actually have any money. All right? They have debt. The U.S. government has debt. The U.S. government has a negative balance sheet. So where's all the money coming from? It's being printed out of thin air. That's what quantitative easing. They print money out of thin air and then they pump it back into the economy and hope that no one's looking. That's what they're talking about right now, doing during the economic collapse to stabilize the economy, printing more money out of thin air and hoping no one accounts for it. This is why Bitcoin is continuing to skyrocket, and why crypto, I told you, any crap coin will be worth money. Look at what happened in Venezuela when they tried the same thing. They just tried the same thing. That's what they did in Venezuela. They're quantitative easing. They just kept printing more money and then circulating more money into the economy. And the more they printed more money, the less valuable the money became. The bolivar is a dead currency. It's a dead currency. You have to walk around literally with bags of money to buy bread. Very basic things. Printing more money doesn't result in people having more money to spend. Doesn't mean that you now have more wealth. Printing more money does not result in more wealth. Okay? It deteriorates existing wealth. It results in what we call hyperinflation. But people don't want to use their heads. They just want to, just go along, twiddling their fingers and their thumbs and like, oh, it'll be all right. It'll be all right. There's smarter people than us out there. Mocking Moniker says, why not switch cryptocurrency for our national currency and then value our debt to zero, put tax at 100% and pay off our debt with China? Guess what? Let me tell you something very interesting. We've attempted to do things along those lines. For example, once upon a time, our debt was our currency was backed by silver. What country has the largest silver reserves in the world? If I recall, France. So the president at that time said, well, instead of paying back France all the money that we owe, okay, so for example, they have the silver reserves, and so that means that our money is equivalent to their silver. So instead of actually carrying the debt, here's what we'll do. We'll just remove the backing of silver, and now the money will be backed by goodwill. All right? And then we continue down the path of having money that is literally backed by nothing. And don't get me wrong, even at that point, the money was still questionable because you had more money than was really than you could really account for. But now you have money that's backed by nothing. It's backed by literally goodwill, as much as the people believe in it. Think about that carefully. And there's no limit to the amount of it that you can print. Insane, isn't it? Absolutely insane. It's not limited in quantity. So, I mean, when you think about it in that sense, just saying that you want to, replacing, we're heading in the direction where there's not going to be these whole national currencies. We may be looking at the death of national currencies, to be honest, as no one trusts them anymore. Because here's what's funny. When things go downhill, and the money goes and the value of the dollar and the value of just money in general plummets all over the world. Fiat currency plummets all over the world. People are going to blame the governments. And you know what the governments are going to do? The governments are going to blame the people. They're going to say, it was your job to be accountable for us. The people are supposed to control the government. The people are supposed to ensure that the government is operating correctly. So it's the failure of the people, not the failure of the government. That is going to be what these big tyrannical governments say. They're going to turn around and blame the people for their failures. And you can't entirely blame them, because we allowed this to happen. We let these governments grow wild. We let these people in positions of power control our lives, control our wealth, all right? And we basically didn't say anything until now it affects us, all right? It's the truth. It's the honest to goodness truth. I've already said this, that when the economic collapse hits, almost any crap coin is going to be worth money. Said that already. Almost any crap coin is going to be worth money, but you have to know how to invest, and you have to start doing it now. All right? I already told you that, because I said that I'm going to be selling my crap coins to people. All right, for tons of money. I'm be selling my crap coins to you guys for tons of money. So those of you that don't know anything about crypto, don't know how to invest, if you've been sitting on your hands this entire time, then you're almost out of time. Don't forget that what I've done for you guys is, for those, I had a huge flash sale earlier this week, and like I said, $2,000 in 24 hours. some of you missed out on the flash sale. Here's what I'm doing for you. You still haven't. I've gone ahead and I've put the how to choose / invest in altcoins that will increase by 10 times to 1,000 times or more on sale. The course costs $299, and I'm doing a flash sale for it right now for $99. It ends in literally an hour and 57 minutes. So if you want to get the course for $99 at that flash sale price, you still have an opportunity. That's the only course on sale right now. And like I said, it's also one of the most popular courses. And this course is $299. And I mean, again, if you want to get it at this price, you have literally you have about just hour and 56 minutes to get it. So you can head over there, just head over to the courses page and click on buy this course, and you can pick up the course. I've got 2 new courses coming for you that are going to teach you on how to get cryptocurrency for free without mining, and also mastering the Ethereum wallet and Ethereum blockchain. And this course is really good for a lot of people because it's going to teach you the ins and outs of Ethereum and all the different kinds of Ethereum currencies and everything you can do with Ethereum. So basically, when you take this course, you're going to be able to do pretty much everything when it comes to Ethereum. All right. I mean, everything bordering on creating your own currency. So you're going to learn all of that, and that's really going to put you ahead. So that's a great course. For those of you that still don't know anything about crypto, though, like if you know nothing about crypto because there's a huge learning curve, then definitely consider picking up the Introduction to Cryptocurrency course. That one's $159 right now. And that's going to teach you everything you need to know so that you can get started with crypto. If you want to day trade crypto, a lot of people are going to be day trading cryptocurrency, to make a living, just for ends meet. This course is $179, Introduction to Day Trading Crypto, and you can pick that up. And then buying Bitcoins. If you want to invest in cryptocurrency, you actually have to buy Bitcoin, and then you convert those, and then you buy the crypto you want with Bitcoin. A lot of people don't know how to do that, and they end up having to pay insane premiums to do that. Like, for example, like 29 cents on the dollar to get some Bitcoins. So you end up losing tons of money. This actually teaches you how to do that without losing tons of money, okay? So it teaches you how to buy Bitcoins anonymously and through secret methods. This will actually teach you how to buy Bitcoins literally using cash, okay? How you can buy Bitcoins in a jiffy, essentially using cash. So this is a course that's really, really popular. It's $129.99 right now, and you can pick that up. But like I said, the how to choose / invest in altcoins that will increase by 10 times to 1,000 times or more. That course is $299. This course is $299, and right now it's going for $99. It'll be going up back to $299 in a little while. So definitely recommend that you head over there, pick up the course as quickly as you can before the price shoots back up. You guys have an hour to do that. You have about hour and 54 minutes. And I'm telling you right now that, as I said before, no one is going to do the work for you. No one's going to come to your rescue. The world has never been an easy place for anyone. It's a false sense of security that we've been lulled into. It's a false sense of security that we've been lulled into. And it's sad. It's very, very sad. It's very, very sad, but you have to remember that it comes down to you standing up for yourself. It comes down to you pushing forward and ensuring that you are going to make sure that you survive, because no one really cares if you survive or not. I'm just being honest with you. It's you and God in this world. No one really cares about you. I'm being honest with you. There are some good people out there, but it takes time to find them. And even then, you have to be able to help yourself, because if you can't help yourself, you'll just end up bringing others down with you. And you don't want to do that, do you? Granted, there are some people who do want to do that. There are some people who are more than happy to bring others down with them. And that's a terrible thing. That's a really, really terrible thing. I'll be honest with you. There are some people who are more than happy to bring others down with them. They're like, oh my gosh, I can bring somebody else down with me. And, and that's what they do. Don't be that guy. Please don't be that guy. Don't be that person who's it's more than casually just using people, because eventually you will run out of friends. You will run out of people to rely on. People will catch on to you, and they will turn their backs on you. All right. So don't be that person. Don't be that person, you know? Be a decent human being. Actually work for something. Like I said, this course is on sale, how to choose/invest in altcoins that will increase by 10 times to 1,000 times or more. And as you can see, it's usually $2.99, and it's $99 right now, $99.99. And the sale ends in just a little while. Again, this course is going back to $2.99 in an hour and 52 minutes. So again, guys, you know, do what you have to do. But me personally, the reason why I go so hard is because I've been at my rock bottom. I never want to go back there again. I don't want to experience that again. Okay? It's not a fun place. It's not a fun place. It's scary. You can find the links to the course in the description of the video. It's cryptomoney.academy. All the links in the description of the video. It's not a fun place. Rock bottom is not a fun place. Poverty is not a fun place. It's horrible. It's horrible. Okay? When you're out there and you're surrounded by crap. Mr. Will says there's a free course. A course for free. No, the course is not for free. It's not released yet. That course is going to be that course is going to be $129. I just haven't put it out yet. That's why it says free. It's not free, but I'm going to do a flash sale for it, and it'll be out for 90. It'll be out for I'll do a flash sale for it when you I'll do a flash sale for it so that you'll be able to get it for $99. But that one's a really incredible course. That one's going to teach you how to get tons of cryptocurrency for free without having to mine it. It'll also teach you how to mine cryptocurrency for free, so like without actually having to go and invest in a big mining rig or any of that. It's going to basically show you how to get all this crypto for free, even without mining, how to, like, you know, all the tips and tricks. There's a lot of people who become rich off cryptocurrency without ever investing a dime. And for those of you legendary cheapskates out there, I think this is going to be the perfect course for you. Let me stop here. Maki Moniker said, at Sam Raven, they have drugs now that completely stop the spread of HIV. You can be a male. Oh my gosh. Singapore and London are major hubs. What is wrong with you guys? What is wrong with you guys? Sell backside? What the hell? Sam says, I'd rather take out my throat and my wrist and my backside. Oh my gosh, that's on my backside. Oh my gosh. Well, the truth is, guys, that's how it happens. I mean, when Greece collapsed, when Greece went through the economic collapse, that actually became very common. A lot of young men began doing just that, selling their backsides. And the cost of a young male in Greece is actually more than a female. What's like a premium? Like it's like okay, so for teenagers or teenage girls, they were selling their bodies for €2. And I remember, if you guys don't remember, famously, a lot of you guys said that was €2 too many. While in Greece, these young guys that sell their bodies, they go for like 20 or even €20 or even €100 or €120. They go for a good amount. And so they go for 10 times or 50 times more than what the girls go for. That should not, now listen to me. That's not something that you guys should think, well, you know what? So at least I have options. No, bro. No, bro. Okay. If that's your plan B, bro, if that's your plan B, you know, you shouldn't be on this channel right now. If that's your plan B, please leave. If that's your plan B, anyone whose plan B is to go and do that, I can't even help you. If that's your plan B, to go and rent out your backside, I can't even help you. Okay, go find Jesus. God, you should find Jesus in the first place. But yeah, like all my cryptocurrency advice, all my wealth building tips, they can't help you. I can't do anything for you. If your plan B is to go and sell out your backside, no. No, 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 no. No, no. Mr. Will says, man, but it's a premium. You guys, you don't remember I told you, I don't know if you guys remember, I told you this was going to happen years ago. I said this was going to happen. I said that the cost of, to be with a woman, it was going to be cheap. The cost of a man was going to be expensive. I said it. I said that. I told y'all it was going to, and look at it now. Shoot, you haven't seen anything yet. You haven't seen anything yet. Y'all are going to see something really. You'll see some amazing stuff soon, though. Sam says, angry exactly. If people plan B is to sell backside, get the heck out of here. You are a worthless sack of you know what? Well said, Sam. Well said. Well said. Well said, brother. Well said. Well said. Oh my gosh. And the worst part is I know that let me tell you something, guys. When hunger sets in, when hunger sets in, guys, I'm telling you, you'd be amazed. All the people who talk, like they talk big and bad and they're like this and and then when they get hungry, you'd be amazed how fast they just, they start, they're like, they'll do whatever it takes, they'll do what it takes. They don't even care. They're not even going to argue with you. They're not even going to argue. They're like, you know what? I'm just going to do whatever it takes. I'm just going to do whatever it takes to get this. I'm just going to do whatever it takes to get this to get this money so I can eat. All right? Because a lot of y'all never experienced hunger in your lives. Well, a lot of y'all have never experienced hunger in your lives. Let me tell you something. I've been there where I look at my hand and, I just think to myself, my gosh, I could eat my own arm because I'm so hungry. I could eat my arm because when you give up, that's when it's over. So I don't give up. I keep pushing. I love God and I keep pushing. I keep giving and giving until I can give no more. As long as I'm alive, I get back up. There are people with no arms and no legs, and they get back up. Stephen Hawking, he could only communicate with a little computer that would literally scan for very small movements in his face, and he didn't give up. He still got back up. All right? So you need to get back up. You need to get back up. You need to push forward. You need to be diligent. Like I said, for those of you that want to check out the book, the ebook on learning how to heal from toxic mother syndrome, I will have that book available. It's only gonna be $20. Book's only gonna be $20. So that book I'll make available for you very, very soon. I'll put it out there so you guys can purchase it, and I'll send out an email. I'll send out an email to everyone on my email list, and also I might just post a separate video on it discussing it so that you guys can pick it up, so you guys will know, hey, there's the book, because I definitely want you guys to get access to it, and it'll teach you how to heal from toxic mother syndrome. Someone said, Mocking says, look like angry is gone. Yeah, what happened was the stream was not getting any, it wasn't going through. So like, of course it sounds like I was gone for a little bit, but you should be hearing me again. You should be hearing me again like now. Oh my gosh. I'm telling you guys, you can learn so much in life, but you have to gain experience. You learn through doing. And don't look at your failures don't look at your failures as something negative. Look at them as stepping stones towards winning, towards greatness, towards success. That's how you should look at it. Look at it as your first step towards success. Look at it as your first step towards actually achieving what you want to achieve. That's the way you should look at it. That's the way you should go about it. Don't let others manipulate you. Don't let others control you. Don't let others lie to you. All right? Stand strong, stand tall, and be proud of yourself. Be proud of yourself for who you are, for everything that you've done, everything that you've been through. Be proud of yourselves. Don't let people devalue your value as a person, because people will always try to put themselves above you. Okay? Or play the victim. So don't do that. Don't do that. Again, guys, if you want to pick up the course so you can start figuring out what coins to buy, you can find the links in the description of the video, cryptomoney.academy. And you can get that. You can get the 10x to 10x to 10 to $1,000 course, 1,000 times course that'll teach you how to invest in coins that will increase by 10 times to 1,000 times. You can take that. You can find a link to that course in the description of the video, and you can get it for $100 for the next hour and 45 minutes, something like that. The timer's on the website, so you can go pick that up. Listen, love God, get money, and cheers.